Hello, I'm Mohsen Jamal and you watch Afghannews. As many as 40 people were allegedly involved in scams to bilk hundreds of millions of dollars from the Kabul bank, and nearly half the cases will be sent to the Afghan court system next week, a top Afghan prosecutor says Sunday. The charges are the first to be referred to courts in connection with the bank's near collapse last year because of mismanagement and questionable lending. A U.S. Inspector General report estimated that $850 million in loans were diverted to bank insiders. Deputy Attorney General Rahmatullah Nazari said the charging papers would name Sharkhan Farnood, the former chairman of Kabul Bank, and a world-class poker player Khalilullah Feruzi, the former chief executive officer who has been cooperating with prosecutors, and more than 24 other current and former employees of Kabul Bank and the Afghan Central Bank. Nazari added that the allegations include corruption, abuse of authority, preparing fake loan documents, or receiving illegal loans, while saying between 30 to 40 people were involved in these scams. Farnood and Feruzi each had owned 28% of the bank's shares. President Hamid Karzai's brother Mahmoud Karzai was the bank's third largest shareholder with 7%, while Hassin Fahim, a brother of the first vice president, also owned shares of the Kabul bank. The governor of the northeastern Nuristan province says 4 police officers have been killed and 2 wounded in a NATO airstrike on a checkpoint in the remote and mountainous region. Jamaluddin Badr said Monday that NATO forces also detained 12 police officers after the airstrike. He strongly condemned the airstrike and arrest, which he said occurred late Sunday in the Wama district of the largely lawless province which borders Pakistan. The international military coalition had no immediate comment on Badr's claim. The U.S. representative for Pakistan and Afghanistan, Mark Grossman, will visit Kyrgyzstan, reports say. A U.S. State Department spokesman, Mark Toner, says that the U.S. representative is on his visit to Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Pakistan, where he would meet with high officials of these countries. According to Toner, Grossman will discuss the issue of Afghanistan with neighboring countries. Meanwhile, a press release issued by the Pakistan Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Saturday said that Grossman, Deputy Foreign Minister of Afghanistan Javed Lodin, and Foreign Secretary of Pakistan Salman Bashir, along with representatives of the military and intelligence from the 3 countries, will come together in the 4th trilateral meeting of the United States, Afghanistan and Pakistan in Islamabad on August 3rd to discuss Afghan peace and reconciliation. Gunmen attacked and tore 7 trucks carrying fuel to NATO forces in Afghanistan in the Khairpur district of Pakistan's southern Sindh province. Early on Monday, a senior police official said 4 people were injured in the attack, but none sustained major injuries, police said. Routes through Pakistan bring in 40% of supplies for NATO forces in Afghanistan. The United States Transportation Command said, adding that 40% more comes through Afghanistan's northern neighbors and 20% by air. Deadly civil strife continued on Monday from the weekend in Pakistan's commercial hub of Karachi, despite efforts by officials to quell the violence in the city that is home to the country's main port, stock exchange and central bank. Police said 17 people were killed in the city since Sunday morning in fighting linked to ethnic and religious tensions, adding that about 200 people were killed in the city in July alone. Most of the areas affected in the latest violence are home to ethnic Pashtuns as well as Muhajirs, the descendants of Urdu-speaking refugees who fled India to settle in Karachi in 1947 following the subcontinent's partition. Street thugs and ethnic gangs have been used by political parties over the years as foot soldiers in a city-wide turf war in Karachi, which contributes 68% of Pakistan's tax revenues. A recent report from the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan said 1,138 people were killed in Karachi in the first 6 months of 2011. This comes as Pakistan intelligence officials say U.S. drone-fired missiles have killed 3 suspected militants and wounded 7 others near the Afghan border. They say the missiles hit a vehicle Monday in the South Waziristan tribal region, known to be the home of Al-Qaeda and Taliban insurgents. The United States routinely stages drone attacks into Pakistan, but does not publicly acknowledge the the program. Meanwhile, 2 children were killed and 3 people wounded when a bomb planted in a garbage dump exploded in Quetta in the southwestern Balochistan province on Monday. A Chinese government has claimed Muslim activists trained in Pakistan were behind weekend attacks that killed 11 civilians in the Xinjiang region. In response, the autonomous regional government on Monday announced a crackdown on illegal religious activities at the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. 10 civilians were killed in knife attacks and 2 small blasts during the weekend in Kashgar, a city in South Xinjiang where the Uyghurs, a Turkic Muslim ethnic minority, dominate. The regional government said in a statement on Monday that a preliminary probe has shown a group of religious extremists trained in overseas terrorist camps were responsible for the attacks. Captured suspects had confessed that the ring leaders had earlier fled to Pakistan and received firearms and explosives training before infiltrating back into China, the government website said. Libya's opposition forces have launched an attack against what they say was a pro-Gaddafi armed group operating under the opposition's banner in the country's east. The opposition's forces had overrun the base of the Al-Nida Brigade, the pro-government faction, after 5 hours of fighting near the opposition stronghold of Benghazi, according to spokesman Mahmoud Shamam, who said that 4 people were killed and 6 others wounded in the clash. Shamam said the main rebel force is now in control of the Al-Nida Brigade's base on the western outskirts of Benghazi, the de facto capital of Libya's opposition held is. Meanwhile, the Gaddafi government said on Sunday it was in contact with members of the opposition National Transitional Council. Syrian forces have killed nearly 142 people when the army stormed the flashpoint protest city of Hama to crush dissent on the eve of Ramadan, political activists say. A witness in Deir ez-Zor said that government forces launched fresh attacks on the town early on Monday morning, while 25 people are killed and more than 65 injured. Deir ez-Zor, Syria's main gas and oil production hub in the east, has become a rallying point for protests along with Hama. Sunday's attack on Hama was one of the deadliest days since the protests erupted. Rami Abdul Rahman, the head of the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, said, adding that at least 142 people were killed across Syria, most of them falling in Hama. Western powers condemned the violence amid warnings from Berlin and Paris of fresh sanctions against the government of Bashar al-Assad. And that Republicans and Democrats in the United States Congress have reached an 11th hour agreement with President Barack Obama to raise the limit on U.S. borrowing and prevent an unprecedented U.S. debt default. Just 2 days before a deadline to lift the U.S. debt ceiling, the White House and both Republican and Democratic leaders in Congress said the compromise would cut about $2.4 trillion from the deficit over the next 10 years. Now that congressional leaders have sealed a deal, both the Senate and House of Representatives are expected to vote on Monday, and in principle a bill could be on Obama's desk by the end of the day. After weeks of impasse and with the final outcome hinging on support from reluctant legislators, Obama, the White House pressured both sides to follow up on the accord reached behind closed doors. And that's all for now. Thanks for joining us.